Hello, everyone. I am Kelsey Lemon, Technical Marketing Manager for the Cloud Management Business Unit over here at VMware. And I want to welcome you to our Day 2 Mastery Series, where we focus on providing tips and tricks to help you get the most out of the Skyline service. And today we're going to go outside of our regular series format and include another customer interview. We've got something very special planned for you today. Today we have Henry Lin. He's the VMware Systems Administrator of Match.com, and he's joining us today, and he's going to share his team's experience with Skyline. In addition to Henry, we also have Michelle Clopton, who's our Product Marketing Manager, as well as our resident hero, Nick Fritz, who's our Senior Technical Marketing Manager of Skyline. These guys are our Skyline top guns, and they're going to be joining us today, and they're going to be monitoring our Q&A pod and answering your questions. And so be sure to make sure that you use the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. And speaking of Q&A, Michelle, if you would like, we've got a couple of questions that we'd like to ask our audience. So if you can launch the poll, that would be great. So we've got a couple of questions that we'd like to ask you all. You can answer them in any order you like, starting with the first one here. What is your current VMware support level? You got 3 choices there. We'd also like to know if you're currently using Skyline or not. And if so, how many people are on your team that are using it? And if you're a Skyline customer, we definitely would want to know what your favorite Skyline feature is. And then last but not least, our 5th question is, have you ever acted on any of Skyline's proactive findings and recommendations? And so we're going to give it a minute here and let everybody get their feedback in. And Michelle, when you think you've got enough responses, we can go ahead at any point that you feel, just stop sharing and we can share the results.
Okay. Looks like we're still having a couple of responses coming in here. So we'll give it another few seconds.
No problem.
Okay, it looks like we got a good, couple more.
Come on. Get those answers in. We're closing soon. We're closing. Get those answers in.
Okay, I think we're good. So I'm gonna end the polling here, and
Awesome.
hopefully you can see the results.
I personally cannot, but I know they're awesome.
Yeah. So okay. So I can see the results here. It looks like, just to summarize, we've got a few more Premier than production customers on. We've got 75% of the attendees are already using Skyline. Most of them 1 to 5 people using it. Favorite feature. Looks like upgrade recommendations.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, nosed out.
Log assist?
Yeah.
Impressive.
Nosed out operational summary reports, and then it looks right at 50-50 as the number of people who've acted on the proactive findings and recommendations.
Very good, very good. So thanks, Michelle, for sharing those results. And so now, let's get on with the show itself. We have an action-packed agenda today. We're going to start off by giving everyone a high-level overview of the Skyline service for those of you who are interested in its capabilities and its business benefits. And then I'm going to actually turn it over at that point, to the star of the show, of course, Henry, where we're going to have a conversation or a discussion about his team's experience with Skyline. But before we end that, and we're going to definitely open up to Q&A, but also want to take a moment to sort of highlight a very special customer event that's currently on the way. And so with that, let's just go ahead and get into the overview of the service, talk about what it does for a customer, by just really focusing on some of the key areas of focus, right, in terms of what Skyline does to keep the environments that you manage out of harm's way by really, again, reducing that need for support. And so, as everyone knows, as a customer, I'm sure you're all very familiar with the traditional, that reactive support scenario, right? You experience an issue in your environment, you open an SR with VMware, and then our tech support team troubleshoots and works with you to solve that issue. VMware Skyline is actually sort of like that next step in that process. It's a proactive support technology, meaning that it can help you avoid those issues before they happen, so you don't even have the problem in the first place. Skyline also helps resolve existing issues faster. So, say for example, if you have a case open with us, our tech support engineers can use Skyline to view your environment specific configuration and use data-driven analytics to actually speed discovery and ultimately drive those faster resolution times that we all want. And speaking of environment, configurations, Skyline currently supports NSX, vSAN, Horizon, and vRealize Operations Manager. And there's also a management pack for VROps. So if you install it, you're going to see Skyline's proactive findings and recommendations within that client. Um, and with that being said, I should also mention that, Skyline, and this is the best part, right? It's available at no additional cost for our production and our premier support customers. We also offer, tailored support for companies in finance and healthcare and telco industries, as well as US federal. And speaking of, those benefits, these capabilities that Skyline provides, they're really driving, value to our champions, people like Henry here. We're hearing that, Skyline really helps them avoid being in that constant firefighting mode, right? They're reducing costly downtime, which is often caused by, misconfigurations. And that increased network, reliability actually translates again into that less time fixing errors, right? So with that being said, to date, Skyline has helped identify more than 12 million objects in their environments with potential issues, and our customers have proactively resolved more than 40% of those issues on their own. And when there are times when you actually may need to react to an issue, something that wasn't actually proactively resolved by Skyline or by you taking action on those recommendations, Skyline can support you here as well through one of my personal favorite features. I'm kind of sad that it didn't actually come out at #1, but our log assist feature, which is actually being reported as being 17 times faster than the traditional log transfer process. And so with that being said, you're probably asking yourself, for those of you who are new, how the proactive service within Skyline works. And so it all starts by, installing and configuring this lightweight appliance called the Skyline collector. You do that in your environment. And once the collector is installed and configured to your endpoint, it actually listens to start collecting product usage data. And then based on this data, Skyline performs a comprehensive analysis of the environment details, right? And then at that point, Skyline begins to act to provide those proactive findings and recommendations. And speaking of data, which obviously is something that Skyline relies very heavily on, this is a very, very good segue to sort of talk about our stance on data privacy, right? So, the collector appliance itself is separate from your environment, and all the data that is tagged, it's tagged with legally identifiable customer information. And I want to just really make sure that I emphasize this, no customer data is stored in the collector or shared with third parties without express approval. And for more information on our stance there, you can go to some of the links here on the screen. All right. And with that, let's get into the main event itself. And so, again, we have Henry Lin. He's the VMware Systems Admin of Match.com. The company itself obviously needs no introduction. As many of you know, Match.com sort of pioneered that whole online dating industry, and it now serves more than it's millions of singles in 50 different countries, and it hosts websites in 12 different languages. So there's a lot going on in terms of the network infrastructure there, right? But what you may not know is that Match.com is actually one of the first companies to see the advantages that Skyline offered in terms of its proactive support, and they adopted it way back in 2018. And so they're using it to as a service to monitor an environment that consists of over 140 hosts and over 3,000 virtual machines. And so with that, Henry, what I'd like to do is just to sort of give you an opportunity to sort of introduce yourself to the audience and give a little bit of background about yourself.
Sure. My name is Henry Lin. As Kelsey stated, I'm the system admin or VMware system admin for Match.com. And I've had, slide over 20 years of IT experience. The majority of that is with VMware products. So I'm very familiar, like the product.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's just go ahead with that being said and just go into our, our first question here. So, obviously, Henry, we're living in some very interesting times right now. People are the way people are socializing has changed quite a bit. I recently read in an article, as a matter of fact, that said that social sites like Match.com have actually seen an increase in membership as people sort of adjust to this new normal. So my question for you, my first question right out of the gate is, how has your company adapted and maintained that business resiliency in the current environment, and what role has Skyline really played?
Well, that's a good question. Our primary goal and our reasoning is that because of the business, we have to be 100% resilient. That's been day one. So in that regard, the current environment with the pandemic and everything hasn't really changed that focus, right? And our use of Skyline has not changed or been modified because of the current environment. So, I mean, in short, for a high level, it's pretty much business as normal for us, or
Okay.
at least my team on the infrastructure and VMware side.
Right. And so speaking of your team, you earlier you said that in your quote that Skyline was a force multiplier, right? So with teams in this time, being pushed to do more with less, would you consider, Skyline an extended member of your team that enables you to be even more efficient?
Oh, definitely. That's one of the big pluses that we've seen from Skyline. It's a lot less wasted cycles. Well, I shouldn't call it wasted cycle. A lot less time spent tracking down issues, trying to make sure we maintain consistency, we maintain compliance across the environment and now it's just there for us. It's automated. We look at the site and we know what's going on.
That's awesome. It's like having someone there just working constantly 24 hours a day for free. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Made my life a whole lot easier.
awesome. So with that, just going to keep it moving, just going to our next question here. So, again, as one of our first customers, can you speak to why, Match.com adopted the service, and has your usage of the service changed over time?
So go back to the previous questions. It's when we saw the abilities that Skyline would give us and the functionality that the Skyline has, I was sold immediately. It's like, okay, where can I download the appliance? How do I get set up? I mean, it didn't take much to convince me once I saw, what Skyline brings to the table and, like I alluded before, how it would make my life easier.
Yes.
And it's changing over time. I mean, the initial, iterations of Skyline, we had reporting and everything was great, but we used it, and as it evolves, I mean, like you pointed out, the log assist. Oh, but that was probably the single best addition to Skyline, in my opinion.
See, you should have been in the audience voting. You could have helped Log Assist edge out, upgraded recommendations, So, but yeah, so like you, I'm also a big fan of that. And, and that's really great, to talk about the service like that. Again, it's always working in the background. And again, like you said, you don't need to check it, every 2 days or weekly, every monthly. Skyline is always there providing the data when you need it, So again, like you said, that flexibility is yours in the sense that it's not necessarily a high touch product, and you can even get emails when critical alerts are found. Which is great. Okay. I'm just going to go rapid fire, man. So the next question, Henry, so, what do you personally feel is the most powerful or compelling reason for organizations like a Match.com to adopt a proactive technology like Skyline?
Is the visibility. With Skyline, I can have a holistic view across the entire environment, our entire vSphere environment, or all of our vSphere environments. Right? I could easily identify, hey, I've got X number of VMs that have older VM tools versions that needed to be upgraded. And I could take that to the operations team and say, hey, look, you guys need to start working on getting these upgraded, right? And perfect example of it is the the Intel exploits. Part of the remediation is to upgrade VMware tools, right? To meet all the mitigations.
Right.
So, and Skyline was right there. Boom, kicked out of, can see in one report, hey, I've got these many VMs. It gave me leverage to go to the operations team, go to the owners of these systems and say, you need to upgrade your VMware tools, right? And this is why, because, I'm sure there's a lot of people, in the audience that there's reluctance from, the users of these systems to make possible reboot, or, what if it causes conflicts? What if the system crashes? It's like, well, that's my justification there. It's like, well, if you want to be compliant and if you want to mitigate this Intel exploit, you need to upgrade the tools.
Right. That's essentially upgrade recommendations, which came in as number one with our customers, and I think you mentioned a very, very good point. I mean, in terms of just having that insight, it gives you the ability to make those informed decisions. You're not necessarily going by your gut. You're looking at the data, this data-driven analytics, and you're making a decision that's actually informed by the power that's of Skyline in that sense, right? And so you can make those decisions with confidence because, again, they're informed decisions.
Yes. No, exactly.
And it's funny because as I talk to a lot of customers, a lot of customers share that sentiment, with the ability to sort of prevent those problems before they occur. Customers are saying that they're able to avoid that costly downtime, that typically happens, right, when you're reacting to an issue. But again, I'm going to turn it back a little bit to log assist, right? But when there's times when you need to react to something, something like that, like a log assist or something like that, can really improve those SLAs too, right? Because you can speed discovery and even drive faster resolution times when you need to react to something as well.
Right. And you pointed it out earlier. I mean, that there's that proactive approach, right? With Skyline, I can see, for example, a recommendation come out, right, that requires an update. And I can see that and I can evaluate immediately, it's like, we need to do this because this might cause this potential downtime. And instead of waiting for that to happen, someone might miss an email or a CE or something like that and not be aware of a bug. And then all of a sudden we have a host down or multiple hosts down, God forbid, the whole farm.
Right. Definitely get in front of it. And so with that, I'm going to go to my next question. So you've already sort of touched base on it a little bit here, but we're going to go ahead and sort of just firm this out a little bit. So, how do you quantify, the benefits that Skyline is providing, and how are you reporting those benefits to management?
Well, simply the OSR reports that we get. That I share that and review that with our manager and and my direct manager, and if there's something critical that we need to go to directly with it, to get assistance, right? That's outside of our teams, to try to get the other teams on board for my example previously with the VMware tools.
Right.
I could tell the other teams, as tell them blue in the face that they need to upgrade tools or update the tools. Right. I could take the the big stick approach and just say, I'm going to push out the tools, automate it, and push it out automatically. Something crashes, oh well, right? But that's not the approach I like to take. I like to take a collaborative approach, and
Yeah. So how do you feel about those vectors, like a lot of people when they're traditionally sort of measuring benefits, like time and effort over time and things like that in terms of metrics, reduced effort over time?
It's been quantifiable for us. I mean, just the time spent I used to spend, whether scripting, pulling versions, things like that. it's all in Skyline right now. And, by sharing that OSR reports, we have a quantifiable data that says, hey, look, we were here before when we started using Skyline, and we can see the recommendations just slowly decrease, just go down and down as we pinpoint them and remediate them. Previously, it was all a manual process. And I share that with my manager and my director all the time. It's like, hey, look, Skyline has this recommendation.
Right.
For me to have done this by hand or through VROPS or things like that, it would taken me time,
Right.
to build the queries, build the reports, to be able to pull this information out. Skyline does it for me. And that's time, that's time I could be spending on other tasks.
More valuable work, more meaningful work.
Yeah.
Most definitely. So you mentioned OSRs, OSRs, those operational summary reports, for many of you, OSRs are operational summary reports. They're only available to our premier support customers, and they get automatically generated every 2 weeks. But, you can also request custom reports as well. So, Henry, have you ever taken advantage of that, like requested a custom report, or do you just solely rely just on the ones that get generated every 2 weeks as part of the standard?
No, I typically rely on just the custom. I mean, the frequency that we get those OSRs, I haven't come across a use case or a case that I need to request a custom report.
No, I mean, that's great, because those standard reports have a lot of information, and a lot of customers are reporting that, those reports are just more than sufficient in terms of just making those updates and reporting upwards to management. So very good. Yep. Very good. Okay. And so obviously you and I are in the minority here. We talked about Log Assist. We've talked about it a few times. I won't say it's a customer favorite today, but can you tell us how you're using, Log Assist, and can you elaborate more on the benefits that tool specifically provides?
I am using Log Assist 100% of the time for any SRs that I need to open. And I can't stress how easy it makes my life. Previously, and I'm sure the audience knows that previously, if you need to collect a log bundle, you have to collect the bundle, you have to download it, then you have to upload it. It's not hard, but it's a process, right? It takes time. Log Assist, go in, select what I want to collect the log bundles on, and it even shows the open SRs that you tag it to. Click one button and just let it go to town. I don't have to babysit it. I don't have to, keep an SSH session open if I'm collecting log bundles through the command line.
Yeah.
Through the CLI, it's make sure, okay, has it finished gathering yet? Has it finished gathering yet? It does it all for me. And, the other upside of that Log Assist is it automatically notifies the engineer that's assigned to the SR that, hey, a log bundle's been uploaded. It eliminates that additional interactions of me emailing or telling.
Wondering if it even got through, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Wondering, having to manually create a bucket or a folder through the FTP site, right, with the ticket number. So it's, I can't say enough about it.
And I think you hit on a very, strong point. Log Assist, like you said, it's really, really helpful when you have to produce, multiple bundles from several different products or locations, right? And so, like you said, rather than manually going into each one, Skyline gives you the ability to upload multiple bundles in a centralized location. You can generate them all. You can send them directly to our support team in just a few clicks, right? And like we said earlier, we've done some testing, and even our customers are basically saying that, using Log Assist is actually, a whole lot faster. I believe the number was like 17 times faster than using traditional tools like an FTP. And so, and then like you said, you could even take it to the next level with Log Assist, right? You can even allow our support teams to generate log bundles for you
Mhm.
with our auto approve feature. So have you ever leveraged auto approve?
No, I have not. No, I have not. That's simply because I haven't had
A
any
reason.
engineers request it.
Oh, okay.
It's always been, send us logs. Well, to the point now where, just experience, I automatically just upload logs now every time I
Nice.
create an SR. I mean, it saves time for them
Awesome.
requesting it.
Very good. And our last question, Henry. One last question for you. What, parting words of wisdom, right? What best practices or tips and tricks can you give our peers in the audience here that are currently interested in Skyline?
Well, not to be the dead horse, the top, the number one is to use log assist. I mean, in my opinion, that alone is worth deploying Skyline. It's, like I said, to be the horse, it's well worth deploying the Skyline, deploying the appliance, and just if only you're going to just use log assist for it. All right. The other kind of tip is that as as we use the product, new iterations, new updates come out, is enable the auto update feature. Right.
Right.
It's an appliance. There's really not much that can go wrong with it. If something does go wrong, just redeploy the appliance and re-register it. It's very easy to and low maintenance.
Right.
Operationally. And why not just enable auto update for the VMware and the application itself? A new version comes out, it updates itself, reboots. It's not like it's gonna, it's got hooks into anything else that's gonna cause vCenter or VROPS or NSX to go down.
Right.
It's just a appliance rebooting.
Right. So low maintenance, low touch, very small footprint, and
Definitely.
updates automatically, and so, and that's a great point. You talk about the auto update, component of it, because obviously, Skyline is an online service. And so there's not necessarily a version number per se, and as features roll out, the service updates automatically if you've got that turned on. You don't have to take the time to sort of do those updates manually. Again, especially if you've got like auto update on your collector and things like that. So that's a very, very good point. And, with that, Henry, what I'd like to do is I want to thank you for your time and insight. I want you to hang on a little bit. We're going to open it up for Q&A in a little bit because I'm sure, some people in the audience have some questions, but I want to just thank you in advance before I proceed to our next component here, if you will. And where I would like to do is sort of, just really, really quickly, before we take some time to take a few questions, I really want to just let everybody know about a very special customer event that's currently underway. It's the Skyline Tech for Good Treasure Hunt. It's a 12-week program that's currently underway, and we're currently in the 5th week. It's a good way, to see some of our best features in practice. And matter of fact, oddly enough, this week is upgrade recommendations. And so, it's a good way to sort of see our best features in practice. And we actually are giving out, weekly tasks and hints to our customers that participate in this via our Twitter account, as you can see right here. And every week, those who participate, we choose 10 participants, those 10 participants who successfully complete a task, and we give them a $150 gift card that they can use to contribute to a charity of their choice. And so what I want to do right now is I just want to take a couple seconds here and just give everybody a view at the promotion itself. So get everybody excited about it because it's something that we're very excited about, and the customers who are using it and taking the money and donating, they're doing it for very, very good causes. And so with that, let's just go into the promo. came in stereo. And so with that, also, I just want to take a moment to just remind everyone to be sure to join us at VMworld 2020. It's going to be our first ever digital experience, with over 800 and count 'em, 800 sessions and counting, right? You don't want to miss out on this sort of this one of a kind opportunity. Everyone who's going to be attending, they're going to get access to, latest product releases. You're going to be able to talk to experts like Nick and Michelle and get tips and tricks, and they're going to hear how others, peers, people like Henry, how they're transforming their business with our VMware solutions, and you're going to be able to do that. And this is the greatest part. You're going to be able to do this from the comfort of your own home. So make sure that you're registered today. And when you do so, you're going to get 48 hours of just straight innovation. And so, with that, Michelle, are there any questions in the queue that we
I
can
don't
open
see
up?
any. We can give folks a couple minutes to type something in if they've got some burning questions.
That's great. That's great. Again, it was Henry. Just want to thank you for your time and sharing your insight and just being one of the first adopters of Skyline and seeing its potential and helping us grow the product as it continues to evolve every day.
Sure, you're welcome. Anytime.
And with that, what I want to do is I want to conclude today's Day 2 Mastery Series webinar. And again, if you're not already using Skyline, I encourage you all to adopt it on the spot and start using it today. All you have to do is just go to the Getting Started link on this page here and you can install Skyline. We even have a way to sort of test drive Skyline in like a sandbox environment. And all you have to do is just go to the hands-on lab and the link and you can try that again in our sandbox environment. And you can visit the other URLs here for additional information, including FAQs. And most importantly, if you still have questions, Skyline has a moderated community where you can ask your peers and experts like Henry who are participating in that community to, questions about the service. And so we encourage everyone to sort of check that out. And with that, I want to thank you all for attending today's webinar and look forward to seeing you all next month.